Good day, and welcome. Today, we're going to untangle the costs of residential aged care. I know, it can seem like a bit of a maze, but trust me, by the end of this, you'll have a much clearer map of how it all works. First up, let's just get this out of the way. If you're feeling a bit snowed under by all this, you are definitely not alone. It's a really confusing topic, a lot of jargon, a lot of moving parts, but don't you worry, we're going to break it all down together, step by step. Okay, before we even touch on the different fees, there's one thing you absolutely have to get your head around. What you'll actually pay isn't some fixed price tag you see on a brochure. It's all determined by a government means assessment, which is usually done by Services Australia. They'll take a look at your income and your assets to figure out what you can fairly contribute. Okay, let's dive into a pretty big piece of this puzzle. There's a new Aged Care Act just around the corner, and it's important because it's going to shake up how some of the fees are structured. The whole idea is to make the system a bit clearer and more consistent for everyone, so knowing what's changing is absolutely key. So what does this timeline actually mean for you? Well, the really big idea here is what they call the no worse off principle. Basically, if you're already in permanent care before that November 1st, 2025 date, you get to stay on the old system. You won't be forced onto the new fees unless you decide it works out better for you. It's a nice little protection measure. Right, let's break down the costs for your day-to-day living. These are the fees that cover all the essentials. And we're going to start with the one that pretty much everyone pays no matter what. Think of this as your board and lodging, basically. It covers all the stuff you'd normally pay for at home. Your meals, your power bills, cleaning, laundry, you name it. It's linked directly to the age pension, which means it gets updated twice a year. So you'll see it change slightly in March and September. Now, this is kind of the next level up. Under this new act, if that means assessment we keep talking about shows that you can afford to chip in a little more towards your daily living costs, you'll be asked to pay this hoteling contribution. You don't have to work it out yourself. Services Australia tells you exactly what it is. And this one is the final tier for those daily costs. It's a contribution towards the hands-on personal care. Things like help with showering or getting around. But, and this is really important, this only kicks in if you're already paying the absolute maximum hoteling contribution. So it really is for those with the highest capacity to pay. Okay, deep breath. Now we're moving on to the big ticket item, paying for your room. This is often the largest single cost, and it's where you've got a really big decision to make about how you want to handle it. Before you even think about how you're going to pay, you've got to sort out what you're paying for. Every aged care home has to publish their maximum room prices. But, and this is huge, that price is negotiable. It's not set in stone, so it's always worth having a conversation. So once you've agreed on a price, it really boils down to this massive choice. Do you want to pay a big lump sum up front? That's the refundable accommodation deposit, or RAD, which you mostly get back. Or do you want to pay it more like rent, day by day, which is the daily accommodation payment, or DAP? The best part is you're not locked into one or the other. You can do a bit of both. Now, if you are leaning towards that big lump sum, the RAD, you can think of it as an interest-free loan you're giving the aged care home. And yes, the vast majority of it comes back to you or your estate. But here's the catch. The government still counts that lump sum as your asset when they're doing that means assessment. So paying a big RAD could actually increase your daily care fees, just something to be aware of. So what about the other way, the daily payment? Well, this one's a lot like paying rent. You pay as you go, and it's not refundable. The real kicker here, especially with the new act, is that this daily amount is indexed. What does that mean for you? It means it's going to go up over time, twice a year. So the price you start on might not be the price you're paying in a few years' time. So let's just recap that whole process, because it can seem like a lot. It's actually a pretty logical three-step dance. First, you chat with the provider and agree on a room price. Then you get your official assessment back from the government so you know where you stand. And finally, you make your choice. Lump sum, daily payment, or a mix of both. Right, we've covered all the standard stuff for your living costs and your room, but what if you want a few extras? Well, that's where optional fees come in.
This one is totally up to you. If you're after, a fancier menu or maybe foxtelling your room or special outings, you can agree to pay what's called a higher everyday living fee, or a health. It's all laid out in writing, so you know exactly what you're paying for and what you're getting.
And just a quick heads up on this, the new act is actually trying to clean things up here. The old, sometimes confusing system of additional or extra service fees is being phased out. The new health is designed to make it all a lot more straightforward. Okay, wow. That was a lot of information, I know. My head's spinning a little bit too. So, what on earth do you do with all this? Where do you even start? Let's make it simple. Even the government itself admits that this whole thing can be a bit of a maze. But look at that last line there. You don't have to do it alone. That's probably the most important bit of information in this whole explainer. There is help out there.
So here's your checklist, your game plan. A brilliant place to start is the fee estimator on the My Aged Care website. It'll give you a rough ballpark. Then give My Aged Care a call, get that formal means assessment in the works. And of course, start talking to aged care homes directly. And look, before we wrap up, it is really, really important to state that Sean Sullivan is an authorized representative of Vivid Financial Planning Pty Ltd and holds an Australian Financial Services license #478937. The information in this explainer is general in nature and does not take into account your personal situation. You should consider whether the information is appropriate for your needs and, where appropriate, seek professional advice from a financial advisor.